Hi, I'm Taimour Zaman. In this video, I'm going to share with you everything you need to know about MT760s. What is the MT760? Can you see a sample of it? Can you get a narrative on it? How do you leverage an MT760? What does blocking an MT760 mean? Can you turn it to cash or credit? And if you can turn it to cash or line credit, well, how do you do that? And I'm going to explain all of that in this video for you. Hi, my name is Taimour Zaman from LineCredit.ai. My organization helps businesses such as yours access instruments that you need to accomplish some of your business objectives. So if you want to procure an instrument like an MTN, SBLC, so on, we can help you do that. If you want to monetize an instrument like a documentary letter of credit, hand-by letter of credit, MTN bank guarantee, so on, we can do that. But we also provide line of credits as well as help institutions do background checking, forensic checking, and a lot of the vendors and individuals they work with. LineCredit.ai, happy to help you out with our services. In this video, I want to share with you everything you need to know about MT760s. Every week, we get a lot of questions around MT760s. Some basic ones are, well, what is an MT760? What does it mean? What does blocked MT760s mean? How do I convert it into a loan or line of credit? And can you see some samples of this and how can it work? Before I go on, I want to invite you to consider subscribing to our YouTube channel. This way you can get access to some of our intellectual property as well as some of our content to help you accomplish your business needs. So when it comes to MT760s, what I want to share with you is a little bit about SWIFT and the history of this so you've got some context around it. SWIFT stands for Society for Worldwide Interbank Financial Telecommunication. Basically, it's a body, it's an organization that allows or creates something called bank identifier codes. These bank identifier codes, for lack of better words, a language that shares between all the banks around the world. It allows the banks to simultaneously, electronically, in a secure way, communicate with each other using the same language. So a Japanese bank can speak to a Chinese bank, and a Chinese bank can speak to an American bank in the same language. And it can happen electronically, fast, in a secure way. And when I say secure, I want to tell you I'm not into cybersecurity or cyber threats or cyber anything like that. I'm sure there's a group of people that would like to debate with me, and I'm not a debater. So I just want to share a little bit about this. Is SWIFT basically creates codes, and these codes are used for ways for banks to communicate with each other. If you are looking to get a line of credit or a loan, especially if you're doing a lot of international banking like that, exporting, importing, getting bank guarantees, or document letters of credit, SBLCs, more likely you're dealing with a lot of different SWIFT codes. And today I'm going to share with you everything you need to know about MT760s. So MT760s, users of this, generally speaking, are treasury departments, banks, exchanges, asset managers, brokerages like ours, trading companies, businesses looking to get a line of credit or loans. MT760, as an example, is imagine Company X has signed a contract with Company Y to provide them with some equipment. The narrative of it, when an MT760 will give you all the details. Who's the receiver? Who's the shipper? What date is this happening? What's the sequence of payments that's going to happen? And all the small details you need compared to other codes to get detailed information on the transaction. So here I'm going to share with you a sample picture of what this actually looks like. An example I'm sharing with you, it tells you who the sender is. It shows you the message type or the SWIFT code, shows who the receiver is. You get to see the receiver's information, the number of sequences, the date that this is being issued, the date of the form of undertaking, and the expiry of it. History of SWIFT. There was a time in history where human beings would travel from location A to location B using horses. And horses would actually do the job. They would help you go from point A to point B. And you could, if you compare horses to cars, you could say that horses were less secure compared to cars are. You could say horses are that's secure, but it was, you had to like ride the horse a lot, you had to feed the horse, like that. And so if you think about the history of SWIFT, is before SWIFT we had something called telex, and telex required the sender and receiver to be at the same time on the same instrument, on the same kind of a back channel, if I can use that word, together. They would send information that need to be translated so they could understand what one person is sending to the other person, and it just need to be translated. It was manual. It didn't have the security compared to SWIFT. You certainly couldn't go to a telex person with trillions of different transactions, whereas SWIFT automates and completes all of that and allows bank-to-bank communication to happen, I like to say almost instantly, kind of thing. And it's far more secure and faster compared to telexes. So that's just a little bit of a background history of SWIFT and how it got invented. And now you're starting to see SWIFT codes like MT760s come out. MT760 is used in a lot of trades. And what an MT760 does is that the party that issues the MT760 beneficiary line of credit, a company that's issuing line of credit will use the MT760 that, hey, this is what I've done. I'll give myself as an example. I live in Toronto, Canada. I have multiple bank accounts with multiple different financial institutions. However, one of my large institutions is HSBC London. And so if a client comes to me with $100 million standby of credit as example, and they want to get a loan for $300 million, what I would do is I would take that $100 million, I would go to my bank in HSBC London and put that up as a collateral. My bank would then send an MT760 to my London bank. HSBC London would send an MT760 to my Canadian bank to say I now have a line of credit for, let's say, $300 million as an example. So that would be an example of a line of credit being issued from bank-to-bank communication. I'm not going to fly to London, England, to take $300 million and put it in a suitcase and fly back to Toronto. This all happens electronically. So there's some rules to MT760 that you need to be aware of. Number one rule, you cannot do large sums in one transaction or in one MT760. They have maximum limits. So if I go back to my $300 million example, it wouldn't be $300 million in an MT760. That happens once. It's a sequence. So I'll get some of it in sequence 1, sequence 2, like it would be MT760, MT761, MT762, like that. It just happens in a sequence, and simply because there's a maximum size limit to an MT760. If the notes in the MT760 is duplicated, it causes the system to stop, or for lack of a word, crash. And I can tell you, I haven't seen this ever happening. Thank God for that, at least so far, knock on wood, I haven't seen it happening. But I want to tell you that when you are receiving the MT760 or sending the MT760, you want to make sure that the note part of it, there's no content that's being duplicated other than who the sender receiver, like that stuff, kind of thing. So that's really important to know, and that you just want to know there's a sequencing of it. Unlike a 799, MT799, the MT760 has a lot of information. And that's something a lot of people really appreciate. Like, they need to know who the receiver is, the shipper is, the contract date, the transaction date, all that information that comes with an MT760. What you do need to know about SWIFT codes in general is that the number of transactions worldwide has exponentially increased compared to what it used to be, I'm going to use the wrong word, 100 years ago. The number of transactions today worldwide has exponentially increased compared to what it was 100 years ago, and compared to the next 100 years, it's going to exponentially increase as well. And the impact to all of that to you and I is that SWIFT codes or banking communication is now slowly shifting to something called blockchain. And so if I was going to send you $5 as an example, and you were living in the same city I was, and we were using the same bank, that's probably no impact to you, no impact to me. Maybe there would be a short impact if our mutual bank is turning into a blockchain. But if I'm sending $5 to my brother, and he's sending it to my sister-in-law, and let's say my sister-in-law is in a different country, different jurisdiction, and my sister-in-law is then sending it to her mother, could be in a different country, different jurisdiction, as the SWIFT as a banking system, let me use that word instead, turns into a blockchain technology, you want to know that there's going to be some hiccups that's going to be at play, and you just want to mentally set yourself up. So if you're giving communication to a supplier, vendor, buyer, seller, whatever, in my world, integrity is everything. We live by what we said we are going to do. And if you say, hey, in 20 days from now, you'll have your line of credit, you may want to brace yourself. That's really not going to happen in 20 days kind of thing. So that's just something for you to be aware of. Some of the frequently asked questions I get is, what does the MT760 block funds means? And it would be something like the line of credit example I showed with you with HSBC London. I will call up my bank and I'll say, Mr. Banker, I'm giving you $100 million SBLC and I want you to give me $300 million line of credit. At my bank, they will block, let's say $100 million or $300 million or whatever they do is what they block, that bank cannot use that money anymore because it's blocked for me. And then when they send me the MT760, I'm asking for it to be given to me a line of credit, that or in a loan, and then my receiving bank can now turn that into or give that to me in a cash format. That's the most simplest way I can describe it. There's two questions I love to ask my audience, my viewers here. My first question is, given some of the information I've shared with you about MT760s and the technical details around that, my question to you is, would you, and this is a yes or no question, would you have any doubt trusting us as one of the authorities in this space? That's just a yes or no question. And if you are willing to trust us, would you be willing to consider subscribing to our YouTube channel? That's my second question. A little bit about linecredit.ai and how we can be helpful, because we got a lot of questions around that. There's three services that I would say we are a market leader in. One is simply monetizing banking instruments, whereas to help you procure an instrument, we can get at a deeper discount, monetizing it so we can get far higher LTV than our clients or competitors can. At least that's what my customers and references and testimonials tell us. Second thing we do, which is real core business, is provide business lines of credit. Definitely check out our Rent to a Rich Uncle program. And a third service we offer is assisting companies that are really ready, willing, able to go into private placement program. All we do there is we provide background checking using former FBI, CIA agents, vetting the platforms. This is a space, as well as SBLCs or monetizing instruments, a lot of fraud going on. So we offer that the former FBI, CIA agents to background checking to our clients as a service. On top of that, we can offer lines of credit for the business transaction that our client wants to get into, and offer you a lot of our expertise and experience. My name is Taimour Zaman. I look forward to the opportunity of working with you.